spent a significant chunk of time on the first two of these dance steps, story, empathy. And there's kind of a reason for that. You'll notice that we have these initials at the top and bottom of this diagram, and also that we use different colors. We've got blue up here and red down here. We call this the no-fault turn. And it's our experience in coaching, in any setting, not just in schools, but it's our experience in coaching that until you have created that safe space in which people can open up and talk, play with their stories, and feel understood, that you can't make any progress down here in the area of what we call the strengths-based or strengths-building turn. And, you know, that's especially true when your focus down here is around what's wrong and how are we going to fix it. But it's even true when your focus down here is what's right and how can we build on it. We have a strong message here that says that if you rush through story empathy in terms of the no-fault turn, your results down here are going to be less than satisfying and less effective than they might otherwise be, and also less creative, because people don't open up in the way that's required.
But people get a little worried, won't we just stay there forever? Empathy feels so good, and so many of us are so starved for empathy, and especially teachers who are feeling very discouraged. What we look for as the signal that it's time to transition from the no-fault turn to the strength-building turn is what we call the golden sigh. When people really feel heard, really feel that somebody else knows and acknowledges their experience, there is a kind of a release. There is often a nodding of, you know, bobbing of the head. Yes, yes, you get it. You've understood what I've experienced. And that's the moment then that we transition into the strength building turn. That's what we're looking for. Because now we have created that readiness to move through.
Building on strengths is a fundamental part of our model. It's in fact a part of what kind of keeps the no-fault turn energy going, you know, as we start moving forwards in the direction of building a better airplane or designing a better classroom experience, whatever it might happen to be. And some of the techniques that are utilized in here are different than what are used in schools. Often, here's what coaching means in schools. It means I'm going to observe you teach, and then I'm going to tell you afterwards what I think you could do better. In fact, I would say that the average understanding of coaching from the person on the street, whether it has to do with schools or anything else, is just that. Coaching means me telling you how I think you could do something better. And this model is very different from that. And it works a lot more with inquiry and then a co-created design for moving forward. And it does focus a lot on the question of what has been the experience that gives you the most amount of energy and passion and life and so forth. And so our process doesn't just work with observations alone, although we do have a lot of bad observations in the mix because there's no way to get away from that in schools. But we also do a lot of interviewing. We spend a lot of time actually talking with teachers about their experience, about what they found was working, about what they really loved, about what they would like to do more of. And so we kind of push the envelope a little bit as to what are some of the things that are available to teachers and to coaches as they work together. It's not just a classroom observation that could be a data. You can use the teacher's whole experience at the point at which you're starting to interview them. When it comes to the observations, we have a lot of tools in the book, and other tools are coming on the website, evocativecoaching.com. We have a lot of tools in the book for how you can do strengths-based observations. So that instead of going into a classroom looking at what the teacher is doing and deciding, well, here's what you're doing wrong, you go into the classroom with the question, what is he or she doing right? You have a delightful story to tell of your graduate student who came back so discouraged from an observation.
Said, well, what I saw in the class was so fabulous. I couldn't think of anything to say. You know, like I didn't have any advice to give or any ways to fix it. So I'm a failure as a supervisor. You know, I haven't done it right. I haven't done it well. So that orientation, we're just trying to move away from that mindset that I have not served this teacher if I haven't given them advice, if I haven't told them something that they could do in order to improve their practice.
It's a very exciting process that as coaches and teachers then work together, they come up with new ideas and find ways to design experiments to test out those ideas. That is the design thinking part of this component. Instead of having one idea, we really challenge coaches and teachers to come up with multiple ideas, to brainstorm using processes for how they can create new ideas, to brainstorm them together. We're going to ask you to do that after we take a break here. We're going to have you go back into your pairs, and we want you together to brainstorm at least 3 new airplane designs that you haven't tried yet. And after you are done brainstorming all of those ideas, we then want you to do what's called prototyping and field testing. So we want you to take the time as a part of our little experiment together to do what some of you had started doing there at the end before, where you were testing out things. This is kind of unheard of a lot of times in education. You want to implement the data-driven and well-proven method. And in design thinking, they have a totally different mantra that says, fail often to succeed sooner. Mm-hmm. And it is the notion of conducting experiments. We talk in our book about designing smart experiments, experiments that are specific and measurable and attainable and relevant and time-bound. And the whole concept of an experiment is very liberating for people, just like the whole concept of a no-fault game is very liberating for people. And when I say it's liberating, I mean you can't fail at an experiment, right? Meaning the point of an experiment is to see what happens. You can't fail at seeing what happens. Now, if you're implementing a plan, if you are, having to do something and accomplish a goal, then all of a sudden it's easy to get back into the problem where you can fail. But here, with the experiment model and the design thinking, we welcome failure, if you will, in the concept of an experiment where we learn things and then we try something different. So you're going to actually have that opportunity here now as we work on our airplanes together. It's our hope that this model is one that people can... It's a little like that old notion of the mastermind game, which had as its slogan, a minute to learn and a lifetime to master. It's not hard to remember story, empathy, inquiry, design. Now, learning how to do those things artfully, it's like, when you learn how to dance. Your first steps are pretty awkward. It takes a lot of practice to get it right. And I think we can do that together. But it's our hope that this model will really make a huge difference in the life of schools and the people who resource and work with teachers.